Polite Enquiries, Adelaide Oval, day 4. Samantha says, has Karma bit back at Root for laughing at Cook? I don't know if biting is the proper term for this. I would say this, Gardner. You and I have spent a lot of late nights watching this series so far, and I've come off the back of India, New Zealand as well. So this is my 4th test. And usually by this time of the day, I'm completely without energy. I've got, unless the cricket's really exciting, I'm just like, oh my God, just finished. I think every day should end up with someone being hit in the testicles and then everyone laughing at them for about 25 minutes.
You're not one of those people, or one of those men, I should say, then, that sort of feels it yourself. You didn't double over and wince in pain. It's sort of...
My first ever training session, I was like 7. And I went in and no one told me to put a box on, and the first ball I missed and it got me. So I do actually know what it feels like, but I also know that no one cares. What did they say on air? Like he was running like he was John Wayne on a horse. That's just funny.
It is. The Simpsons writers told us this long ago. What was it? Was it an Oscar that Hans Moleman won for a man getting hit in the groin with football? I think we'd all agree this was a good sequel.
Resident Suck says, was the 2-year plan for the Ashes to have your best fast bowler bowl some offies in the second test? Oh, I like that question. I mean, it should be. He's a very good off-spin bowler. He started as an offie. I thought he bowled beautifully, by the way. So what went wrong there? Joe Root was in hospital because of the earlier time that he'd been hit in the groin and he couldn't bowl. Jack Leach is currently, playing Sudoku because that's about all he's going to be able to do probably for the rest of this series. And they got behind the over rate. I mean, everything had to go wrong for Ollie Robinson to bowl off-spin. And I'm all for that.
We used to get a lot more of this, didn't we? Players that sort of switch between bowling styles. I think Rob Moody, the great Rob Moody, tweeted a video of Colin Funky Miller going from bowling spin to Stephen Fleming, seam up next ball, and taking a wicket with it. I want to see more of this stuff in Test cricket.
Andrew says, do England need to employ a gardening expert to read pitches better and actually pick bowlers who will perform on them? For all the talk we have about pitches beforehand, we literally have no idea what's going to happen. We're all guessing. We look at it, that looks green, that looks brown, that looks green and brown. I mean, so much of it is nonsense. I don't think England made a mistake not having a spinner.
England, as we discussed the other night, probably have picked the wrong team for two games running. But when your best spinner is a guy that's getting smashed all over the place and you haven't had the faith to pick him in the team for the best part of the year, that tells you the situation they're in. I think Root, is their best spinner, isn't he? Is England's best spinner. He's taken more wickets this calendar year than Stuart Broad, so they got the right side.
You want consistency in selection, Gardner. So realistically, the best way of doing that is to continue to make mistakes. Scott Wellstead says, why are Australia so much more competitive in England than England are in Australia? Shouldn't bounce and pace be easier to negotiate than seam and swing? Firstly, bounce and pace are not particularly easy to negotiate. If you've spent your whole career with your hands low on the bat, as you saw with Hamid today, actually trying to get them higher is a really, really hard thing to cover. But also, it's not as if Australia don't also have bowlers who can do that.
Yeah, and sort of coming over here, swing and seam, it's not exactly the most fearsome of weapons. It's his village green, it's the church bells chiming, it's Darren Stevens coming at you. Whereas you go to Australia and it's the ball's coming at your head, and there's an army of giant men to hurl it at you. So I think that's
we're going to destroy you with Mark Elam. I mean, it's not exactly, he might get you out, don't get me wrong, but you're probably not going to be afraid of him, I think is what Gardner is saying. Get ready for a broken technique. Martin Jones says, if England could steal only one Aussie player to strengthen their team, who would it be?
Well, someone who could bat would be nice.
Probably be Marnus.
Yeah, I mean, Smith's okay, but yeah, Marnus is the man, isn't he?
Right at the moment, it actually, if you think about it, would make this series, if this was like a backyard game, after the first test, you probably would have said, it's not fair for you guys to have 3 batters and we only have 1. Can you give us one of your good batters so we can move around? Also, controversially, Nathan Lyon might be another interesting one, although he maybe hasn't had the same kind of effect.
Yeah, I mean, they could take Travis Head. Cameron Green looks a handy player. Why don't they just all swap?
Tim Foden says, how can one man, Ben Folkes, make 2 sets of management so angry and not be selected? Honestly, I think England and Butler are probably over it. We talked about it on a previous Polite Enquiries, but yeah, we're all big fans of Ben Folkes, and Butler did drop another catch today. The thing with Butler is, when you take a sensational catch when you're diving, the chances are that you're not going to be able to replicate that all the time, because when you're diving and trying to catch the ball one-handed, you're only going to be able to take a low percentage of them. The problem is that later on, there was a ball he could have easily moved across to, which he didn't, and he dived again.
Of course, with Ben Folkes, it's worth remembering that he's a very good-looking man, and that makes other men insecure. If the keepers England do pick keep playing the way they are, then he's going to get another go.
Everyone will. Anurag says, does the next Ashes prep begin at 3-0, or will they wait for 5-0? I mean, this is English cricket. They're preparing for their next collapse already. They have been for 2 years. You can prepare as much as you want. If you're not very good, I'm not sure what you're preparing for. The opening bat and the number 3 are both here almost entirely by accident. Hamid just sort of came back into the side at the last minute, and they probably went, oh, he's not going to make runs in Australia, but we can't drop him now. And then conversely, Milan came back at the last minute, and they probably went, oh, he might make runs in Australia. For all the preparation, they're basically just stocking the team with like whoever's in form at that time, because that's kind of what you have to do when no one makes any runs.
Yeah, I mean, to adapt to Mike Tyson, everyone's got a plan until they get smashed in the box by Mitch Stark. England have not failed to prepare, but they better be prepared to fail when they go to Australia. History tells us this.
Brucey says, how are you today, Jarrod? I'm fine. Thanks for asking. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.